Its tyrannical leader, Kim Jong-un, has subjected his people to extreme hardship.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for places around the world you either can't or shouldn't visit due to the inherent dangers of the area.
As far as is known, anyone who's fell into that water has never come out alive.
Number 10. Mount Everest, Nepal. It shouldn't come as a shock to anyone that the tallest peak on Earth is also one of the most dangerous places.
Every year there will be a sort of slow bloodletting of people who probably shouldn't be there, go anyway, who don't listen to reason, and who end up walking until they die.
Ever since Sir Edmund Hillary made it to the top of this ginormous mountain, whose summit point is located across the China-Nepal border, people have been coming from all around the world to try to accomplish the same. With an elevation sitting at just under 30,000 feet, it's not an easy climb for even the most experienced in their field. Aside from just the sheer physical exertion required, Everest boasts unpredictable weather, extreme cold, and highly dangerous terrain.
But despite it all, there's the fatal attraction.
Miss a little crevice and you're done for. Throw in altitude sickness and a real lack of oxygen, and everything about this place says stay clear of it.
Lots of people with very little climbing experience show up on that mountain every year, and more and more of them every year.
Number 9. Lake Narin, Tanzania. Often you'll hear mythical stories of a lake of blood. We usually take these tall tales as pure fiction. Turns out Tanzania does have a very red lake that you'll want to stay clear of.
Lake Narin isn't exactly a pleasant place for a swim. The water is alkaline, sometimes very alkaline.
Known as Lake Narin, the water is often discolored, red, and can reach temperatures as high as 140 degrees Fahrenheit. The color comes from a special algae bloom that occurs in the water. And although you might feel like taking a sip of it, the cyanobacteria in the water can be toxic. Consumption of it results in damage to your cells, nervous system, and the liver. Most animals who do drink the water end up looking more like a mummy after they go through serious calcification.
Touching it is seriously painful for humans.
Number 8. Erta Ale Volcano, Ethiopia.
Here, scientists have a window into the most powerful force on the planet.
It shouldn't take a rocket scientist to know why volcanoes are dangerous. When they erupt, lava, poisonous gas, and blasts of smoke are sent in countless directions. No one wants to be anywhere near when that happens, but we'll see your volcano and raise you 2 lava lakes. Erta Ale Volcano in Ethiopia is one of the few places that has not 1, but 2 actual lakes of lava.
Erta Ale is the very top part of a deep plumbing system, if you like, that's delivering molten rock up to the surface.
The flows found in each lake shrink and grow depending on certain circumstances, but are very clearly visible from the right spot. Going for a hike on an active volcano is dangerous enough. Adding 2 pools of hot molten magma is just a bit much.
The lava that we see here and the high temperatures that we see are a reminder of the immense heat inside the Earth.
Number 7. Guatemala City, Guatemala.
The gunshot wounds here in the city prevail a little bit more. We have around 10 to 15 per day. And on the weekends, just in the metropolitan area, we ascend to 25, 30.
If you look at the U.S. State Department website, you'll notice that the entire country of Guatemala is listed as a place you should reconsider traveling to. If you do choose to go there, particularly to Guatemala City, you may find the crime list to be quite large. Extortion, murder, armed robbery, carjacking, and drug proliferation all seem to find themselves in various parts of the country.
Last year alone, there were 6,800 murders. This in a country of 13 million people. Only 2% of these crimes were ever prosecuted.
The situation there is so insecure that tourists are often recommended to stay in hotels with private security and to not venture out on their own unless accompanied by a security officer. Your best bet is to either stay away entirely or manage to blend in.
Many people here say Guatemala's infamous gangs, as well as organized criminal networks formed by the country's ex-military, are to blame.
Number 6. Snake Island, Brazil. It might be dangerous, but it turns out you can't visit Snake Island anyway because visitors are banned.
If the signs don't warn you off, the residents will. All 4,000 of them.
There is a good reason for this. The main residents of this island are a unique snake known as the golden lancehead pit viper. Their venom is so strong, it's been known to melt human skin.
Its venom is up to 5 times more potent than its mainland relative.
At one time, the island was part of the mainland but broke off during the last ice age, permanently stranding these deadly creatures. To protect the natural environment and prevent human injury, the local government has permanently prevented the general public from visiting here.
With these snakes, it will be a particularly painful death. You're going to die screaming.
Number 5. Polesha State Radio Ecological Reserve, Belarus. One day after the Chernobyl incident, the city of Pripyat, Ukraine, was evacuated, leaving the city abandoned. The Chernobyl exclusion zone was set up to prevent anyone from visiting the area near the accident.
They tell you that if there's anything you should stay away from, is do not touch the water. There is nothing that is more irradiated than the water itself.
2 years after the meltdown, the zone was extended into a portion of Belarus and became known as the Polazia State Radio-Ecological Reserve. That area once contained various settlements with a total population of more than 22,000 people. It now serves as a major focus of study around the effects of radiation on the various wildlife that has thrived in the region since the disaster.
After people were removed, even though the landscape was highly contaminated, it allowed them to increase.
Given the history of contamination in the region, we'd recommend you steer clear. Number 4. Afghanistan. There are plenty of places in the Middle East that currently face political unrest, with Syria, Yemen, and Gaza notably among them.
Another grim milestone has been reached. More than 25,000 people have now been killed.
Among the most tumultuous is Afghanistan, which has suffered several coups and insurgencies over the years, dating back to the invasion of the Soviet Union in 1979. This all escalated after the 2001 attack on the World Trade Center and the country's subsequent occupation by the United States. The shadow of these events still lingers, resulting in continuing outbreaks of war and violence. Afghanistan remains extremely dangerous for both residents and global travelers alike.
The 9/11 attacks led to the invasion of Afghanistan. 2 decades later, the Taliban are back in power.
Number 3. The Amazon Rainforest, South America.
This is the world's largest rainforest and one of the most biodiverse places on the planet.
In choosing the name Amazon for his online bookstore, Jeff Bezos was drawing a comparison of how big his business would become to the largest rainforest in the world. This area of 2.1 million square miles is also one of the most dangerous places human beings can visit. Everything from mosquitoes to frogs to large predators like jaguars can inflict serious damage to a person.
Jaguars are opportunistic hunters that will prey upon anything they come across. Capybaras, deers, tortoises, and even some really large creatures like the tapir or predators like the caiman.
Even the water or plants are capable of life-threatening dangers to all those who visit the region. Unless you have the right guide and plenty of gumption, it's an area we all should take an abundance of precaution when visiting.
Once the heart has stopped beating, they begin to eat their meal whole, toes and all.
Number 2. North Korea. North Korea. Danger comes in many flavors. We've covered war-torn regions, places covered with vast amounts of dangerous wildlife and even hazardous man-made zones. North Korea, however, is dangerous for a whole other set of reasons, primarily concerning their dictatorship.
Everyone loves the great leader. But is that true? It becomes impossible to determine what's real and what's staged here.
North Korea has been ruled by the Kim family since the late 1940s. Since then, residents have been forced to virtually worship and praise their leader and abide by his every rule.
Its tyrannical leader, Kim Jong-un, has subjected his people to extreme hardship.
The regime survives by repression.
The regime in which residents live under provides for virtually no freedom, and there is a constant threat of violence against them and their family for crossing the will of the state.
Watching and sharing foreign videos is severely punished.
One wrong move, and you're facing execution.
With conditions as vile as these, North Korea is considered one of the most dangerous places in the world. Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Bolton Strid, England, considered the most dangerous river in the world.
As far as is known, anyone who's fell into that water has never come out alive.
The Devil's Pool, Zambia. Hanging off the edge of a waterfall is a little much.
Every second, nearly 250,000 gallons pour over the cliffs of Victoria Falls.
The killer exploding lakes, various. One pop of CO2 from these infamous lakes could harm thousands.
Volcanic gases escape from the magma. They percolate through the Earth's crust and into the atmosphere.
North Yungas Road, Bolivia, the worst one-way street on the planet.
The grasses stick up and you don't necessarily see what a long way down it is, and then you get one of those little gaps. And then you just see down, and it is a long way.
Skeleton Coast, Namibia, littered with the remains of sea life and shipwrecks.
Bones just don't decompose in this weather.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. North Sentinel Island, India. For such a tiny little spot, this island packs quite a wallop on anyone who wishes to visit. The North Sentinel Island is home to an indigenous people known as the Sentinelese.
They are the most isolated tribe on Earth.
Unlike some of their neighbors, they are incredibly hostile to outsiders. Virtually everyone who has tried to make landfall on the island has been met with either a deadly fate or a barrage of arrows and spears from the tribespeople. The Indian government made it illegal to travel to the island, but that hasn't stopped some from trying. As recently as 2018, an American named John Allen Chow lost his life trying to reach the Sentinelese.
He wrote to family, "You guys might think I'm crazy and all this, but I think it's worthwhile to declare Jesus to these people. God, I don't want to die."
Would you ever dare to visit any of these places, or would you rather stay closer to home? Let us know in the comments.
North Korea is even more repressive, even more, totalitarian than it's ever been before.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.